In the second part of the limiting tutorial, I'd like to cover what I call transparent Brickwall limiting. And the plugin I use is, I think, the best on the market, short of going up to sort of SSL levels and things like this. It's made by a company called AOM, and it's called the Invisible Limiter. It is truly lovely. This is, believe it or not, a Brickwall limiter, even though we've got output gain control, limit levels, which is just another word for threshold. Input gain, you control how much gain is coming into this limiter, which is actually quite important because we can push the limiter. But I'm after transparent limiting here, and I really don't want to color this. Output gain, self-explanatory. Unity gain is interesting. They talk about a negative input against a positive output, but really this just means level matching. That's all it is. So we're trying to match the levels of the input to the output, which I think is wonderful because it removes all the kind of coloring process that you'd get by pushing inputs against low outputs or low inputs against high outputs. I tend to leave that on. Bypass, self-explanatory. Overshoot is kind of like a protection system. Clip, it protects by clipping. Through just goes straight through the unit. This helps if you want to chain a series of limiters or compressors or whatever. Suppress is the one I tend to use. But clip's okay because I never really push it to the point where I want that clip effect. Oversampling. 1 means there is no oversampling at all. 16 is max. Just remember this, same as all other oversampling processes. The higher the oversampling value, the better the processing. In this event, it'll be transparency. However, it's going to eat your CPU. If you keep an eye on that when I play it at 16, but when I go to 2, you see a big drop there in the CPU load. Logarithmic and linear, interesting. I believe that linear for me behaves in a way that I understand, whereas logarithmic is more expressive. You tend to get a curve to the response of the limiter. Try both. This is funky. Most limiters have this now, left and right for your stereo or middle and side. Okay, bypass, and let's have a quick listen. Yeah, all levels are funky, so we don't need to worry too much about gain compensating or reducing volumes. Okay, this is threshold. I'm only going to go for a slight amount here. That'll do me fine. Input gain. Watch what happens here. I'm pushing it, I'm pushing it. I'm pushing it. Now the limiter's starting to clip or color. Maybe that's what you want. That's a different texture to clip. So let's bring that down and be sensible about this whole thing. I push the input gain to the point where I start to see limiting taking place. If I drop this out, you get a variance between input and output. Might be what you want, but if you want a proper, well-balanced, non-colored, level-matched scenario, this is what we do. This is called transparent Brickwall limiting, or as they put it, an invisible limiter. Now let's go into logarithmic mode. Let's push this a little so you can hear the ceiling getting hassled a bit. Hassled meaning absolutely hammered. Listen to what happens when I change to linear. I can actually hear that curve straighten out. As I said, I prefer logarithmic. Latency, I leave it on normal. I don't want to mess about with shorts and everything. I've already aligned and calibrated my sound card and the DAW to all behave as I want it to. Let's go back to default mode here and just play this. If you want to go crazy, hammer the input, acres of threshold. Now you have color. My suggestion is stay on transparent. This is what this thing is built for. If you insert the limiter into the channel as is in default mode, you literally only need to push your input gain and you've got invisible or transparent limiting. Tiniest little adjustments. It really is lovely. Right, I'll let you have some fun with it. We'll carry on with the limiting tutorials and we'll start getting into more complex limiters that afford us so many more features.